The keys hit the marble floor with a sharp metallic clatter. I didn't move. I just stood there, watching them spin to a stop near my worn work boots. "I said pick them up," Marcus Whitmore's voice echoed through the underground parking garage. He was 26, fresh out of business school, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. His father had just made him regional director of operations. That was 4 hours ago. "You're the valet, aren't you? Or are you too stupid to understand basic instructions?" I looked at him calmly. 12 years I'd been with Whitmore Properties. 12 years of arriving before dawn, staying past midnight, making sure every property in our portfolio ran like clockwork. But Marcus had never worked a day at ground level. He'd never met me before this moment. "I'm not the valet," I said quietly. "I don't care what your official title is. You're wearing a work uniform. You're in the parking garage, so you're parking my car. Now pick up those keys before I have you written up." Behind him I could see Tommy pulling up in his tow truck. Right on schedule. He'd been our contracted towing service for 8 years. Good guy. Reliable. "Marcus," I tried one more time, "I really think you should—" "It's Mr. Whitmore to you." He stepped closer, his cologne overpowering. "You know what? I've been here 4 hours, and I'm already seeing the problem with this company. Too many old employees who think they run the place. Dead weight. People like you who've gotten too comfortable." Tommy climbed out of his truck, tool belt jingling. He caught my eye and grinned. "Morning, boss. Which cars are we repossessing today?" The color drained from Marcus's face. "Just slightly. Just enough that I noticed." "That Bentley," I said, pointing to the gleaming silver Continental GT that Marcus had parked across 2 spaces. One of those spaces had a reserved sign. My name was on it. "Start with that one. It's parked in my spot." "Wait, what?" Marcus's voice climbed an octave. "You can't just—" "Company policy," I said, pulling out my phone. "Any vehicle parked in a reserved executive space without authorization is subject to immediate towing. All fees and storage costs are the responsibility of the vehicle owner. It's in the employee handbook. Page 47. Tommy was already hooking up the Bentley. He'd done this before, though usually it was for cars left overnight in visitor spaces. Marcus snatched his phone out. "I'm calling my father. This is insane. You're some kind of maintenance worker, and you think you can—" "Alexandra Chen," I said. "Vice President of Property Operations. I oversee all 83 properties in the Eastern region. I manage a staff of 412 people. I negotiate all our major vendor contracts, including the one with Tommy's towing company. I also handle our insurance policies, our city permits, and our relationships with every major contractor in 6 states." He stared at me. His phone was halfway to his ear. "Your father hired me 12 years ago," I continued. "I was the one who identified the Riverside Complex opportunity. I structured the financing for the Harbor View acquisition. I personally managed the renovation of the Princeton building that increased its value by $18 million. Your father sent me a bottle of champagne every Christmas for the past 7 years." The Bentley's front wheels lifted off the ground. "Wait! Stop!" Marcus lunged toward the tow truck. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. Just stop the—" "Can't stop mid-tow," Tommy called cheerfully. "Insurance liability. Once the hooks are set, she's going to the lot." Marcus's hands were shaking. Miss Chen, I apologize. I really didn't know. You thought I was the help," I said. "You made an assumption based on my appearance. I was checking the electrical systems in sub-level parking. We've been having voltage issues all week. That's why I'm in work clothes." He was pale now. Really pale. "Please, that car is leased. The fees, I can't—" $300 for the tow, $85 per day storage. You can pick it up anytime from Tommy's lot on Industrial Drive." I finally bent down and picked up his keys. They were warm from his hand. I held them out. "You'll need these to prove ownership." He took them with trembling fingers. "Now," I said, "let's talk about your first day as regional director." His eyes went wide. "You're not going to tell your father?" "No, I don't need to." I started walking toward the elevator. "You're going to tell him yourself, because in about 20 minutes, you have a meeting with the entire operations team. 43 people, including 5 department heads and 2 site directors. They all report to me. And one of them is going to ask you about your vision for improving workplace culture and employee relations." Oh God. Your father specifically requested that topic. He said it was important to him. Something about wanting to ensure the next generation of leadership understood the value of every single person in this company. Marcus looked like he might be sick. "He's going to be in that meeting?" "Of course. It's your introduction to the leadership team. He's very proud of you." I pressed the elevator button. "Oh, and Marcus? That parking space you took? It's not just reserved for me because of my title. It's contractually guaranteed in my employment agreement. Section 12, Paragraph 4. The agreement your father and I renegotiated 3 months ago." The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. "The agreement that gives me final approval on all regional director appointments," I added, "including yours." His face went from pale to gray. "You could have vetoed." "I didn't. I approved you. Your father asked me specifically. He wanted to know if I thought you were ready." The doors started to close. I told him every young leader needs a chance to learn. I told him you'd make mistakes, but that's how people grow. "Wait." The doors shut. I rode up alone, checking my phone. Already 3 text messages. One from Tommy confirming the Bentley was secure. One from James Whitmore Sr. asking if Marcus had arrived yet. One from my assistant reminding me that the operations meeting was in 15 minutes. I replied to Mr. Whitmore, "Yes, Marcus is here. We've already met." It was memorable. The elevator opened on the executive floor. The operations team was gathering in the conference room. I could see them through the glass walls, chatting, laughing, getting coffee. Good people, hard workers. Every single one of them had a story, a family, a reason to be here. Sarah Martinez, our facilities director, waved at me. 20 years with the company. Her daughter just graduated college thanks to our tuition assistance program. Chen Wu, no relation, our head of maintenance. 15 years. He'd worked his way up from night janitor. His wife was battling cancer, and our health insurance was keeping them afloat. Keisha Williams, site operations manager, 8 years. Single mother of 3. She'd once told me this job saved her life. Marcus Whitmore was going to walk into that room in 12 minutes and face every single person whose job he'd just threatened without even knowing who they were. My phone buzzed. Mr. Whitmore again. "Is everything all right?" I typed back. "Everything is perfect. Marcus is learning what it means to lead." The conference room was filling up. I checked my reflection in the glass door. Steel-toed boots, canvas work pants, company polo shirt with grease stains from checking the transformer, hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry, except the plain watch my father gave me when I earned my engineering degree. This was who I was. I'd never pretended to be anything else. The elevator dinged. Marcus stepped out. He'd composed himself somewhat, but I could see the panic in his eyes. He'd changed into a fresh shirt. His hair was combed. He was trying. "Ms. Chen," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. A real one. Not just because of who you are, but because of how I treated you. It was wrong." I studied him. "Yes, it was. I want to make this right. Then come with me." I opened the conference room door. 43 faces turned toward us. 43 people who made this company run. And remember their names. The meeting started. Mr. Whitmore Sr. was already there, sitting at the head of the table, smiling at his son. He didn't know yet. but he would. Everyone, I said. This is Marcus Whitmore, our new regional director of operations. Marcus, this is the team that's going to teach you everything you need to know about actually running a property management company. Marcus swallowed hard. Thank you all for having me. I know I have a lot to learn. Sarah raised her hand. Mr. Whitmore, what's your vision for improving workplace culture and employee relations? Perfect timing. I hadn't even needed to prompt her. Marcus looked at me. I gave him nothing. No help. No rescue. This was his moment. I think, he started slowly, I think workplace culture starts with respect. Real respect. Not just for titles or positions, but for people. For what they do. For what they bring to the company every single day. He was finding his footing. I think I have a lot to learn about that, and I hope you'll all be patient with me while I do. It wasn't eloquent, but it was honest. Mr. Whitmore Sr. was watching his son carefully. Then he glanced at me. I kept my expression neutral. The meeting continued. Marcus asked questions. Good questions, actually. He listened. He took notes. He asked people to repeat their names. When Sarah talked about the ventilation issues in the Parkside building, he asked her what she needed to fix it. When Chen Wu mentioned the security lighting problems, Marcus wrote down every detail. He was trying. Really trying. 2 hours later, the meeting ended. People filed out. Marcus approached me as I gathered my folders. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not destroying me in there. You could have. Yes, I agreed. I could have. Why didn't you? I looked at him directly. Because your father asked me if you were ready to lead. I said yes. That means I have to give you the chance to prove it. I tucked my folders under my arm. But Marcus, understand this. Those people in that room, they're not there to serve you. You're there to serve them. Your job is to make their jobs possible, to give them the resources and support they need, to protect them, to value them. I understand that now. Do you? Because 4 hours ago, you were willing to fire someone for not parking your car. He flinched. I know. I was trying to be authoritative. I was trying to seem in charge. Authority isn't demanded. It's earned. I started toward the door. Your father learned that the hard way. He started this company 40 years ago with nothing. He cleaned his own buildings. He fixed his own toilets. He knows the name of every person who's been here more than 5 years. That's why people respect him. I'll do better. I hope so. I paused at the door. Your Bentley will be ready for pickup tomorrow afternoon. The fees will be deducted from your first paycheck. Consider it tuition. Fair enough. I left him there and headed back to the elevator. My phone buzzed again. Mr. Whitmore Sr. My office, please. I rode up 2 more floors. His office was corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the entire city. He was standing at the window when I walked in. Shut the door, he said without turning around. I did. Marcus called me from the parking garage, he said quietly. He told me what happened. Everything. I see. He said you would have been within your rights to have him removed from the property, that you had grounds to block his appointment, that you showed him mercy he didn't deserve. I didn't respond. Mr. Whitmore turned around. His eyes were tired. He's my only son, Alexandra. I want so badly for him to succeed. But I knew he wasn't ready. I knew he needed to be humbled. I just didn't know how to do it without breaking him. You knew I'd be in that parking garage this morning, I said slowly. You knew I'd be in work clothes. You told him to park there, didn't you? A slight smile. I told him to park in the reserved executive spaces. I told him to introduce himself to everyone he met. I told him first impressions matter. You set him up. I gave him a test. You administered it. He sat down behind his desk. How did he do? He failed the first part spectacularly, but he recovered. He was honest in the meeting. He listened. He tried. I sat down across from him. He has potential. But James, he can't lead with arrogance. He'll destroy everything you've built. I know. He rubbed his face. That's why I need you to mentor him. Personally. I know it's beyond your job description. I know it's not fair after what he did. But you're the only person in this company who will tell him the truth, who will hold him accountable. You want me to babysit your son. I want you to teach him what leadership actually means. 6 months. If he can't learn, if he can't change, I'll move him to a different role. Something without direct reports. I thought about it. About Marcus's face when he realized what he'd done. About his honesty in the meeting. About his apology. One condition, I said. He works ground level for the first month. Maintenance, cleaning, security. He learns every job before he supervises anyone. Mr. Whitmore smiled. Done. Anything else? He gets his Bentley back. I'll pay the towing fees. Alexandra, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if I'm going to teach him, I need him to understand that leadership isn't about punishment. It's about lessons. I stood up. The tow truck was the punishment. Getting the car back is the lesson. Which is? That people will lift you up if you treat them right. But first, you have to fall. Mr. Whitmore nodded slowly. 6 months. Make him worthy of this company. I'll do my best. I left his office and went back to sub-level parking. The electrical issues weren't going to fix themselves. Chen Wu was already down there with his team, running diagnostics on the transformer. I grabbed my tool belt and joined them. Everything okay, boss? Chen asked. Everything's fine. Just had to teach someone where to park. He laughed. I heard about that. Tommy sent a picture to the group chat. New director's Bentley on the hook. He'll learn. You always say that. About everyone. Because it's true. Everyone can learn. They just need the right teacher. We worked on the electrical system for 3 more hours. Hot, dirty work. By the time we finished, my hands were covered in grease and my shirt was soaked with sweat. But the voltage was stable. The lights were bright. The elevators ran smooth. I checked my phone on the way out. Message from Marcus. I called the tow company. They said the fees were already paid. That was you, wasn't it? I typed back. Report to sub-level parking tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. Wear clothes you don't mind ruining. You're spending the next month learning how this building actually works. I'll be there. And Marcus? Yes? Bring coffee for the maintenance crew. Learn their names. Learn their stories. They're going to be your best teachers. Thank you, Ms. Chen. I drove home that night thinking about keys on marble floors, about assumptions and arrogance, about young men in expensive suits who'd never fixed a toilet or changed a light bulb, or spent a night making sure the heat worked so families could sleep warm. Marcus Whitmore had a lot to learn, but he'd taken the first step. He'd admitted he was wrong, and tomorrow morning, he'd take the second step. He'd show up. Everything else would follow. Or it wouldn't. And then we'd know for sure. But I believed in second chances. I believed in teaching. I believed that everyone, even spoiled sons of wealthy men, could learn what it meant to serve instead of command. Time would tell if I was right. The keys were still in my pocket. I'd picked them up off the floor, but I'd never given them back. Tomorrow I would. Tomorrow, when Marcus arrived at 6 a.m. to learn how to check water pressure and test fire alarms, and listen to people who'd been doing this work since before he was born. Tomorrow, when he'd earned them back. The Bentley could wait one more day in Tommy's lot. Some lessons were worth the storage fee.